Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. We've had an increase in traffic this week, so I'd like to thank and welcome the new viewers. I'm glad to have you along. More viewers is more better. 2 thumbs up. So, over on Facebook, I've been involved in a discussion over Atlas Ride or Die. Now, what is Atlas Ride or Die? Atlas Ride or Die is a Rise or Die. My bad. It's a Kickstarter. See, I don't need to screw up something that they've already screwed up. So, beautiful cover poster deal going there. I got no complaints about that. Now, it's billed as an indie vintage swords and sorcery. With swords and sorcery not having any space between those words. It's one big conglomeration for swords and sorcery RPG, full of blood, brutality, and barbarism. New races, classes, and a new 2d10 system on a new world. By the way, this new 2d10 system is supposedly completely compatible with 5th edition, assuming that you don't use your d20, that you're using 2d10. So, they later say, Atlas Rise or Die is a classic, vintage, sword and sorcery. Now this time we got spaces in between between the word and the ampersand. Tabletop RPG. In its style and mood, Atlas brings about the renaissance of the epic RPGs of the 80s with a modern, clean design and breathtaking illustrations. So, on the blog side, I made a quip. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. That's a quote from The Princess Bride. Because vintage literally means of age, and this is a brand new game, brand new system. So it is not vintage. But there are typos and poor grammar throughout the presentation. All right. So, over on Facebook, somebody commented on this. Nobody else is commenting on this. Heck, nobody even liked this post on this one stream. But I get the creators are from Hungary. English is not their first language, Eric. I think they can be forgiven for some spelling and grammar mistakes. So my response was, not if it's going to be published. If you can't give me a well-written Kickstarter pitch, what can I expect in the printed product? Likely more of the same. That seems quite petty of you, to be honest, was the response I received. Now, before I go into my further response, I'm going to mention this. Kickstarters are not a fucking charity. If you want to run a charity, that's why you got GoFundMes and all these other things, and that's when you say, I've got these issues in my life, or what's going on, or what cause I'm trying to raise money for, and here, I'd like to raise some money. Kickstarters mean I have this vision, I have this idea of a project. If you're in our hobby, we're probably looking at games and minis, right? Those are the big ones. So if you're presenting a game, what is important? Well, how your ability to write in the language that you are pitching this in. So, my response, your Kickstarter pitch is your opportunity to show that what you can offer as a final product. If your Kickstarter presentation is poorly worded and less than perfectly presented, why would I expect the finished product to be any different? This is part of doing due diligence as a consumer. It is not being petty unless it is petty to expect a professional product when somebody asks for money. Response to me was, the pettiness stems from expecting a Hungarian-based game creator to have perfect English spelling and grammar when even North American-based creators publish books that come up short in the very same department. Now, anybody that's listening to me or watching me speak right now who's read tencarstavern.com, that's the accompanying blog, it's been around for over a dozen years. I post there almost daily. I do miss occasionally. I'm not perfect anymore. Will know that I have a history of picking out fucked up Kickstarters. Many of them worse presentations than this, and showing the horrible grammar, the typos, the poor layout, everything else you can think of. And almost every one of those were native English speakers. I don't care whether you natively speak English or not. Being a native English speaker doesn't get you a pass, and not being a native English speaker doesn't get you a pass. So, again, I had to respond to that. I had the same expectations of all publishers, regardless of their native tongue, if they are looking to profit off of the English-speaking market. If I were to sell Swords of Witchery Continual Light in Hungary, I'd hire a native-speaking Hungarian to do the translation, another native to proofread, and yet another to edit. If they expect to sell to the English-speaking market, I expect them to do the same. I've pointed out many native English speakers for poor grammar and sloppiness in their Kickstarter pages. If you want my money, your presentation will be critiqued, often harshly, if you have sloppy mistakes. Now, do I have anything personally against these people? No. And maybe their game is going to be the best game ever. Could be, right? We're never going to know. Why? Because the presentation is poor. Now, again, going back to that argument of, well, but Eric, come on, these guys are Hungarian. Their English isn't going to be perfect. That's fine. Then they should be writing this in Hungarian and selling to the Hungarian market. But the issue is, that's not the market they want to sell to. They want to sell to the English-speaking market. So you got to put your best foot forward, because your initial presentation is what people will see. Now, I'm not going to look at this and go, oh, well, that's an interesting project, but their English is piss poor. However, and I don't have the page in front of me, they're looking for $50. I'll throw $50 into the pot to get a game that's going to likely have English that does not pass muster, right? So it means I'm going to stumble across sections of that text and go, what do they mean? I don't want that for my $50. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are going to say, well, I really don't have time to look at these Kickstarter pages. I look at the first few words and then I make my decision. Well, you know what? That's on you. I actually critique Kickstarter pages. I try to do due diligence, whether the math adds up. Excuse me. There's going to be a Kickstarter that I missed that funded back in 2019. That's going to be relevant now. One, because it's over a year late and fulfilling. And two, because the company that kickstarted it is relevant to the newest iteration of TSR. And there are a lot of warning signs in that Kickstarter. So that's going to be another episode. That might be tomorrow, later on this week, but it's certainly going to come up. Now, why do I do that? Because if you're a Kickstarter creator, you should be learning from when people like myself or other bloggers or other YouTubers critique these Kickstarters and point out their flaws, point out their problems, because this is easy shit for you to avoid. You want to make money off of me and my community, right? That's your goal. And if you want to make money off of my community, you better put your best foot forward, and you better present the best project that you can. It's that simple. And having a successful Kickstarter isn't just the ability to fund, because we've seen that. We've seen people fund and not fucking fail to deliver. I'm going to say Ken Whitman. Oh, by the way, Ken Whitman now claims that pencil dice will soon be in the mail. He's crushing those embossed pencils with the pencil embosser that he apparently got last summer, and I guess his ADD kept him from working on it. Because he finally figured out the instructions and has a little focus. Maybe they've upped his meds. But somebody has to look at this. Now, If you're not interested in having Kickstarters critiqued, avoid when I cover them. All right, because again, if you don't care about your presentation of your project, why should I think that your actual project is going to show any more care? If your Kickstarter page is sloppy, right? Like you put it together in a couple of hours and just put it up there, why would I expect the final project to be any good? That you're going to put time into it to ensure. Right? If you're doing a Kickstarter page, you should have more than one set of eyes review it. I have reviewed numerous Kickstarter pages for friends and acquaintances in this hobby and companies, large and small, before they went live, or some of them even after they went live. And I went and I pointed out issues because I'll be honest with you, if you have something that is confusing or doesn't make sense or is plain old sloppy, you're going to have somebody who's on the fence looking at it and going, well, you know what? I kind of like that idea, but man, if they can't put the time in to make sure it's perfect when they're pitching for my fucking money, why should I expect them to try to give me something perfect after I've given them my money? A little thing to think about. Folks, if you're watching and you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. If you are listening to this on Anchor or one of the podcast catchers, you want to get this stuff earlier, it's up on YouTube at this point, about a week before it hits the podcast side. Subscribe. The channel is youtube.com/10Cars Tavern. Real simple. All right, folks. On that note, we are still in the midst of the world of the pandemic. What does that mean? It means, please, I beg of you, use your common sense. Use your common sense. I'm immunized. I'm not saying you need to get immunized. I am saying you need to use your common sense to keep yourself, your family, your friends, your loved ones healthy and safe. Excuse me. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Knock on wood. I'll be back again tomorrow. And again, thank you for joining. I really do appreciate all of you that stop on by.